Right, once again, welcome to Jack Slayter Notes. Like, share, and subscribe, and all those crap. I cannot stress the point enough. Alright, Jack Slayter Notes today P, that is for CAT examination that already happened earlier this year, February 8, 2026 exam. That is today's paper 2, Child Development and Pedagogy section, 30 questions, 30 marks. Alright, let's go. Question number 1, assertion. If physical development of children is delayed, then their social and emotional development gets affected. That is correct. The assertion is true. There is developmental continuity in the course of children's development. Of course, there is a developmental continuity in the course of children's development. So both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Question number 2. According to the John Piaget, cognitive development is a simple addition of new facts and ideas to the existing store of information. It is dependent upon the development of language capabilities, is the process of acquiring the ability to use cultural tools, is the process of adaptation to the environment by changing one's schema. So the answer has to be the 4, because John Piaget talks about schema and its adaptation of environment by changing one's schema, changing one's brain thoughts and packet of schema. So it's the process of adaptation of the environment by changing one's schema. Question number 3, assertion. Teachers should avoid collaboration, group work, and interaction among students. That is absolutely wrong. Teacher should do that, not avoid that. Alright, so the reason is learning is a passive process and occurs most effectively through memory. That is also wrong. So both A reason assertion and reason are wrong. Learning is not a passive process, it is an active process. Both A and R are false. Question number 4. Rapid increase in height and weight during adolescence that usually precedes sexual maturity is referred to as growth spurt, because developmental trend that happens menstruation is puberty. Pubescence is also related to puberty, that but when a rapid increase, sometimes you see a guy and it doesn't grow and suddenly he grows, so that's called development growth spurt, yes. It's growth spurt answer. Question number 5, assertion. When talking about differences, expressions that put the person ahead of the difference should be used, such as using the student with disabilities rather than the disabled students. If you said a disabled students, it's bad, hearing words. Now we are getting to a certain point in the age and time where everything is a bit politically correct. You have to be that, if you are, you have to say they are special childs, not retired one. So that sort of things. And the reason is the language you use. Here you get the reason. The language we use when talking about learners with differing needs shapes the perspectives and attitude. About learner with differing needs shape the perspective and attitude. So it's all about in the words that we speak to others and how we addresses something. So it has to be everything in the language. The sweeter your language, the more, so both of them are correct, and yes, it explains the assertion. Reason explains the assertions. All right, question number 6. Children in middle school should be encouraged to write about their emotions on daily basis, weekly basis, and reflect upon them. That is true. That is very helpful when one talk about their feelings and emotions, even on a daily or weekly basis, or write about it in a diary, of journal, and everything. So assertion is true. Correct. Understanding one's emotion is a cognitive process that can lead to action. That is also true. When you know yourself, you know the world, like people say. So both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Question number 7. Which of the following is not an effective strategy in problem solving? Recognizing pattern and relationship is an effective strategy. Using logical reasoning to solve problems, that is also an effective strategy. Overlooking relevant information, that is not an effective strategy. Like the question asks here, which is the following is not an effective strategy. So the question is, overlooking relevant information is not an effective strategy. Question number 8. According to Piaget, when children reach the point of being able to generalize and engage in mental trial and error by thinking up hypotheses and testing them in their heads, they are in. When they think about hypotheses and testing their head, they are in already formal operational stage. That is the highest stage here. You know, hypothesis is formal operational stage. When you abstract thinking, when imagining things, you are making a world in your head that doesn't exist. So that sort of thing. Question number 9. Student learn efficiently and in meaningful ways when contents content is presented to them in a form of incoherent pieces of information. That is not really true. When you give them in incoherent piece, it's not really helpful. Focus in avoiding failure, no, that is also not correct. That is, when you focus in avoiding failure, you are not really studying. You have to study for your own pleasure. You have to be intrinsically motivated. So that is not wrong. New concept is completely different from not really, you know, you have to be link the knowledge. You have to class 6 knowledge with the class 7 one. So new concept is completely different. That is also not work. Their response and subjective experiences are attended. Yes, when you value your student, when you say something that you value them, when you give an differing answer, that is the most efficient ways, more efficient and meaningful way of teaching learning process, the whole thing. So the answer is 2 4. The response and subjective experience and attended and valued. Question number 10. According to Lawrence Kohlberg, around which ethics do very young children moral reasoning revolve? Which ethics? Ethics of egocentrism. No, when they are kid in young children, they only care about others. I think yes. So that has to be the answer. Yes, egocentrism. Question number 11. Diversity and inclusion improve teaching and learning. Reason: engaging in conversation across different culture hinders teacher ability to think critically and creatively. That is totally wrong. Diversity and inclusion improve teaching and learning. That is correct. Improve. It improves the. But engaging in conversation across different differences, that doesn't hinder. That encourage student ability to think critically and creatively. So reason is wrong, but assertion is correct. So A is true, R is false. Question number 12. Which of the following are effective teaching strategies to cater to diverse need of learning in classroom? Differentiated instruction, that is true. Standardized curriculum, that is not really true. Wait a second. Standardized curriculum works actually. Individual education plan, that is also true. Now standardized curriculum doesn't work, but individualized education plan work when you have diverse classroom. So answer is NC. Yes, when you have diverse classroom, you have to make differences among which student learn in a different space, and there is low learner, so you have to go slow for him, as a fast learner, gifted children, you have to go fast for them. So that sort of thing. Yes, individual works. Question number 13. According to constructivist theory, children have a natural tendency to make sense of the world. That is correct. Children learn only when extensively motivated. That is not true. Children learn best when information is presented to them in final form. Not really. Children have a tendency to behave in unruly ways that needs to be corrected. So children have a natural tendency to make sense of the world. That is the correct answer, because yes, rest are not really true. Children have a natural tendency to make sense of the world. Question number 14. Two commonly used strategies for effective problem solving are heuristic and algorithm. That is the effective problem solving. Yes. Question number 15. A teacher is designing a lesson plan for a group of students with varying level of understanding of a topic. According to Vygotsky theory, which of the following should the teacher consider when designing the lesson? A teacher should ask each student to work individually on the specified problem. Teacher should provide all students with the same level of challenge. Not really. Teacher should consider each student's current level of understanding and provide appropriate support to help them to reach the next level. That is 100% correct. The teacher should only focus on the students who are already at advanced level of understanding and provide them with more challenging work. That is wrong. So the answer is 3. The teacher should consider each student's current level of understanding and provide appropriate support to help them to reach the next level. Question number 16. Characteristics such as lacking. Okay. Alright. Question number 16. Characteristics such as lacking reading fluency, reversion of word, tendency towards distraction and typing, Typical identifying character. Tendency toward distraction are typical identifying characteristics of dyslexia. Of course, the answer is dyslexia. Question number 17. Students feel more motivated to learn in an environment which ensures belongingness. Yes, when students are welcome, they are loved, they are feel welcomed, and they feel the belongingness. That's where they are more motivated to learn. Fear, nope. Rejection, nope. Safety, when you give them their safety and they feel safe, they doesn't fear the teacher to ask questions, they feel safe. That's when they most learn. So the answer is A and D, and A and D is number 2. Yes. Question number 18. Moving from conservative education towards progressive education requires shift from formative evaluation to diagnostic evaluation, integrated curriculum to standardized curriculum, performance oriented goals to mastery oriented goals, or teacher centered to exam centered. The answer has to be performance oriented goals to mastery oriented goals, because progressive education is all about mastery. So mastery oriented goals. Performance oriented is all about you need to do good at exam, and to impress the teacher and all those things. But mastery is when you learn truly, when you understand things. Performance is all about rote memorization, when you memorize things, and mastery is when you totally understand a certain theory, certain anything, cycle of dark cycle, light cycle, all sort of things, and you totally understand it. Some kids even in nowadays used to literally memorize mathematic problems. So those were like performance, they want a good mark. They never had any intention to learn truly, that to apply in real life. Truly their true education is actually mastery oriented education. Question number 19. When learning new information, which of the following is a helpful strategy for children to use to ensure they understand the content material? Rereading the information once, asking question and seeking clarification, pretending to understand. Now that is wrong. You never, when you are doing anything, you never pretend to understand. If you don't understand, you say, and then you clear that misconception. Making up their own meaning of unfamiliar term. Now that is also wrong. So the answer has to be 1 A and B. So that is 1. Answer is 1 A and B. Question number 20. A teacher should create a classroom culture where students' motivation to learn is primarily focused to avoid shame or appearing ignorant. No, that is not really true. Compete with each other, that is also wrong. A teacher should create a classroom culture where students' motivation to learn is primarily focused to avoid shame of appearing ignorant. Not really. Compete with each other, no, false. Understand and appreciate process of learning, that is the correct answer. Prove their worth to others, that's also wrong. So the answer is 3. Understand and appreciate the process of learning. Question number 21. Assertion. Male characters in stories and books are often presented as strong and adventurous, while female characters are shown as warm and sensitive. That is correct. So assertion is true. Schools and curriculum influence gender role identity as they are powerful agents of secondary socialization. That is also true. So the A and B are true, and it also explains the assertion. Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Question number 22. Children who are struggling with dyslexia have trouble in phonological processing that makes it hard to decode words. Alright, all children benefit from being encouraged in their areas of interest and ability. That is also correct. So the answer is both A and R is true, but R is not the correct explanation of A, because they are talking about something and this talk about something else, because the relationship of because doesn't happen here. Question number 23. What is the role of peers in the socialization process? Peers have no major influence on socialization. Wrong. Peers have a minor influence on socialization compared to parents and other adults in all stage of development. Peers are primary agents of socialization for children. Not really. Family is primary. Peers have a great influence on socialization during adolescence than during early childhood. So they have a very good socialization in adolescence. Peers have a great influence on socialization During adolescence, that's all about socialization, sexual maturity, and all those things during early childhood. Then I did. Question number 24. Which of the following statements about learning is not correct? Learner construct knowledge that makes sense to them. Of course, that is correct. New learning depends on current understanding. Sure, that is also correct. Social interaction hinders learning. No, that is not correct. So that is your answer. Because social interaction encourage learning, not hinders. Answer is social interaction hinders learning. That is not correct. Question number 25. As per constructivist approach of learning, learning is facilitated when activities are interactive and collaborative. That is true. Content is disconnected and eccentric. No, that is false. Pedagogy is teaching centered and culturally individual. False. Tasks are inherent disorders. The answer is activities are interactive and collaborative. That is your answer. Question number 26. Assertion. The height and body weight are primarily inherited characteristics. Good nutrition and exercise also make a difference. That is also true. Heredity and environment interact in their effects on development. Of course, that is also true. Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Question number 27. In an inclusive classroom, adaptation should be made in learning goals. Of course, teaching learning strategies. Yes, provision of support. Of course, assessment. Everything. So all four seems like correct answer. Let's see what the answer is. Answer is always all four A, B, C, D. Question number 28. Which of the following does not come under the category of sensory impairment? So, sensory impairments does not come under is dysgraphia because that is a learning disability of hand-eye coordination. So, the answer is dysgraphia. Question number 29. National Education Policy NEP 2020 emphasizes on transforming assessment by devaluing socio-cultural context of students. Nope. Executing summative. Nope. That is also not true. Incorporate self-assessment and peer assessment. That is true. Practicing unitary notion of intelligence. Nope. So answer is incorporating self-assessment and peer assessment. Peer student each other check out their relative correctness and approach or achievement. Sorry. Question number 30. Following lab Vygotsky ideas, a teacher decided to give hints and cues to the student who was stuck on a given problem and let the student try to solve that problem again. By doing so, teacher is practicing the concept of course, scaffolding. That's all about lab Vygotsky is all about scaffolding, and here a teacher is giving a temporary support or temporary notes and cues and hints. So it's all about scaffolding. Alright, thank you very much for watching. Like, share and subscribe to the channel. Slayter Notes. Study hard and work smart. We are not really teachers or teaching, we are notes. We give notes to different field, and we will do that after we complete the PYQ. That normally when you say PYQ is previous year question paper, but this year twice happening Ctet, that is 6 September. So this is the paper of 7th and 8th and March 1st, March 1st re-exam of Ctet question paper. So we already did like 3 CDB paper of paper 1, 7 February, paper 1 8 February, and March 1 paper 1 of March 1st, and now we did paper 2 of February 7, and this one is paper 2 of February 8th, and we are going to do March 1st paper 2 later. And yes, next time we will do social studies of 2-3 paper, and then we are set to the new questions of CDP and social studies. We are going to cover two papers, CDB and social science. So please like, share and subscribe to our channel, just Slayter Notes, and we will grow together. And all right, another thing, we postpone the Assam section because recently there are no announcement of job. So we are hoping if the previous guys that were for studying Assam and its people from our channel, if you guys are like giving a seated examination, and yes, so we will cover 2 of them. CDP, we are going hard on CDP, child development pedagogy, but this pedagogy we are also going to do pedagogy. That pedagogy is going to be helpful for your GTP, GT or Assam Tet that's going to happen this year, obviously. So I am sure you will have a, you know, you will have it good. Anyway, goodbye, have a nice day.